Simon. Okay, we're at Nick's house, and Nick has been entertaining us with Gentes, which is by Stefan Aristaus. And Nick, take it away. Tell us what you think.
Typical Spielworks game. Really clever, really balanced, diabolical rulebook, although not as bad as some. Shifar is the worst, and it's got progressively better, but it's still not good. Very confusing, but once you crack it, it's a very straightforward, very logical game the way it works through. My second time of coming last, which doesn't do my pedigree any good whatsoever. I really like the different mechanisms, the choices. I like the way you've got to work out, put your action down and pay the money, and then put the time allocation next to it. The choices of taking away the cubes to give you more space is really, really good. And again, the need to get the cards and balance getting the training your people up. I just think it's a game that's been play tested so often. It works, and it's really clever, quite intuitive, relatively easy to teach once you understand it. I like it. I gave it an 8. I think I'm going to give it an 8.5.
Gary.
High praise indeed.
Yeah.
Not many games get an 8.5.
No.
First time playing, very much enjoyed it. Want to play it again, definitely. It's a resource management game, but it's got some very nice aspects to it. I think that there's a slight tendency for the end game, the last epoch, to be a bit of a race to get the high scoring victory point cards out, which is, that's what it is, but it does become a bit of a race to get those out because they're worth huge amounts of points. But overall, there's a decent amount of complexity. I'd give it an 8, yeah.
And Paul. Oh, excuse me. Close, there you go.
My second game. The first time I played with 3 players, and I wasn't convinced after that game because it did feel loose, even though you do take off some of the action markers. They still felt quite open, and we could pretty much do what we wanted. This was much better with 4 players, much more competition for spaces. Actually, the first time I've ever seen wanting to do an action and not being able to because there's no marker there. I'll give it a 7.5. I think it has a couple of issues. One is the cards. One is the cube removal. It's definitely an advantage to have more time, obviously. And the cards, the way they come out, can favour certain people. So some players, Nick in this case, never got rid of a cube, I don't think.
No.
And that is going to harm you. But overall, yeah, I think it's well done.
Paul was going to dance for us, but he decided not to. Steve?
Well, remarkably, I managed to win this because I felt throughout the game that I was swimming hard, and the tide wasn't working against me, let's put it that way, but it did feel like a game where I wasn't quite sure if I was doing the right thing at the right time. I don't think I made mistakes in this, I think it's one of those games you could make mistakes and really regret it. I kind of kept things going, so it worked okay for me. I think it reminds me of quite a lot of other games. I think it's got a little bit of strangely, the Year of the Dragon springs to mind. There's that kind of intense feeling of planning your turn each turn and working ahead and making sure you can do it, and then sometimes your options diminish because other people's play, but you're not really playing against other players particularly. So it's quite solitaire in some ways, but you're very engaged with that all the time. Turn comes around nice and quick. It is really well designed, and there's no doubt about that. It's very tightly designed. I don't think I can really see a slack piece of designing in this. There will be bits where, as Paul says, something favours another player and maybe the draw of cards comes out, but ultimately you have to play some things from the hip in this life. So I enjoyed it, good, and we might talk a bit more about it later on.
Thank you.